Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast with me, producer Chris, and Steph, home and away Steph, who was home yesterday, Steph.
Very much home, in a slightly new environment of the League Cup, which was delightful.
Indeed. You may have noticed, obviously, Holly isn't with us again, still searching for internet in the wilds of Ireland. So hello, Holly, if you managed to get online. We should make a quick mention where people can find us.
Absolutely. They can find us on YouTube. I know a lot of people mainly listen to us on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get your pods, but you can also watch us on YouTube at North Bank Pod, as well as all the other socials. I've put out a few questions on a few of our profiles. Again, all at North Bank Pod, Twitter, Threads, BlueSky, you name it, we're on it. Chat to us, ask questions, comment, rate, review, all that.
Yeah, it's worth pointing that out, because I think what we're trying to do with the pod is broaden it out and invite more of that kind of interaction with people. And we do get good questions come through. So do keep them coming, and then we can see how that develops and you know, just build the community, which is what we want. Anyway, last night, League Cup, Brighton at home. You were there. Let's whip through the essentials. The team broke, and we weren't that far off. I think a lot of people were expecting to see more of an experienced spine, and we discussed on the last pod that might not have been possible given the injuries and the sort of borderline state of some of our players. So it wasn't a huge shock, was it, to see that lineup?
No, it wasn't, and I was only a couple of players out, but it was interesting, those couple of players, because Eza started out on the left, albeit, and Andre Harriman Anus played up front. 17-year-old youth striker came into the fore, and obviously most people were delighted to see Max Dowman, the 15-year-old protege of Arteta, starting on the right wing. But otherwise, it was that what I keep referring to as the kind of shadow team. All very good players, but also very much the shadow squad.
And have never played together before. And I made a note in particular that the relationships that we hope to see in the future, like Nkapie and Mosquera playing together, for me was one that I was really keen to see, because either of those we want to be able to slot in to our defence. You know, if Saliba's injury continues, you know, and keeps him out of the Burnley game, then we know that Mosquera can fill in there. And we obviously want to see more of Nkapie, just because we're all curious, really. We just want to see what he's about. And last night, I think particularly second half, we saw, once they'd all bedded in a bit, I think it was difficult to criticise too much based on the very fact that they'd never played together before. You know, after the first half, I think we were clearly finding our feet. And just also to mention about the team selection, the bench was awesome. You know, a really strong bench. I looked at it, I thought that's literally half the first team. And by contrast, Liverpool gambled and kind of lost with theirs, because they chose a sort of weakened first team, and the bench was just all unknowns. So it was a bit of a throw of the dice, I thought, from Slot, where the trend of their season is such that, you know, the form is so bad that maybe that was a bit risky, but not that I care.
No, absolutely not. I thought we took the right amount of risk. Like you say, we have accrued a few injuries, and especially when you look at the problems with being able to rotate in the front line, especially, you know, we really needed to take some players out of contention just and save them, because like we said, Gyökeres has been racking up the minutes, as has Zubamendi, you know, and those are two positions that aren't going to massively change until the likes of Havertz comes back, or Norgard gets a few minutes, more minutes under his belt before we can bring him into other games that Zubamendi might not feature in. But it was all fairly positive, and like you say, you're probably referring to the opening part of the match, where I thought it was also interesting from Brighton's point of view, because they went at us, and they were very direct in their attack. And I did wonder if, you know, Herzl is a canny coach. He's probably not the most likeable of personalities, but, you know, he's not here to be liked. He probably thought, well, actually, Arsenal are going to make a lot of changes, and it's going to be a team that are unfamiliar with each other, so let's try and catch them out. And they carved us open on a couple of times, like quite unbelievably. And were it not for better finishing, easily could have been 2 behind. So, but the fact that we weathered that storm and then certain players really grew into the game, Kepa in particular, Mosquera and Nkapia, you know, that core of the defence all seemed to rise to the occasion. And as the game wore on, you know, their chances certainly lessened.
Yes, they did. And those chances as well, some of them were from our mistakes, you know, like there was the Norgard turned it over a bit too easily for my liking, and I think Mosquera made it a little error. But then again, you expect that. They're so rusty. I think some players they just need game time to become fluent. Others you can drop them in, and I thought Ben White was really good from the off.
Yes,
there was an assuredness about him, and he just knows his role so well.
That little. I keep seeing the clip, the little run through midfield that he did. So he nicks the ball off one player and then kind of nutmegs another. And
I don't think he even touched it, did he?
No, I don't know.
He just him.
Bamboozled the player, yeah.
Totally. But he seemed to slow time down when I was watching him on the right coming forward, because he's just got this assuredness about him. So that was good to see. And Dauman as well, from the off, again, that fearlessness of just wanting to dribble and take people on, and might not have come to much, but you just know that that's going to cause trouble in the future when he's refined his game like Saka has. I hate to make comparisons, but you know, when you become more efficient and know when to release it in that final action, then he's going to be unstoppable. So very exciting. Watching him play. So, anything else to say about the first half? How it panned out?
No, not in particular. I think, you know, Dauman certainly stood out because every time he got his foot on the ball, he was just confidently taking on, and there was a particular run he made that just made me think, here's a player that will get people stood up and paying attention. You know, there are some players that just have that, I'm going to say aura about them, but it's more about their style of play. You know, when the ball's at their feet, it's maybe a slight unpredictability. You know, is he going to play a neat pass? Is he going to knock the ball on and just run around his opponent? You know, who are players like that? I mean, Grealish has an element about that for him. Saka can do at times. But yeah, he just, you know, he got people alert and head up, which was exciting to see.
That was amazing. I think it's in his hip movement, you know, in the way that you can't anticipate the direction he's going, because he's got this kind of fluid movement that you can't read. That's the way I see it. Is because he seems to get past people so easily. Yeah. You watch it and you think, surely you would have known that he was going that way, but I don't think they do. I think he's got this perfect balance about him that he can just turn it in a microsecond, and then he's gone. So, yeah, all the praise, bring it on for Dauman, because I'm here for it.
It was also interesting because you could argue that that's his most competitive game. Yes, he came on as a substitute at Liverpool, but it was very late on, and then the pre-season games are obviously just pre-season games. But, you know, this was, albeit a much-changed Brighton side, it was a start at home, and the intention was to go out and win. So there's a bit of pressure there, and he stood up to it. Brighton didn't hold back in their challenges on him. You know, he's, if you're starting for a team like Arsenal, you have to expect that you're going to get that kind of treatment, and he stood up to it quite well. And there was also then a moment at a different point in the game where he kind of jumped into essentially a Brighton player who went down sort of holding his back and ended up being subbed at half time, and you wonder if that was a sort of knock on for it as well. So he's certainly got a little bit of presence about him. However, with my safeguarding teacher hat on, I'm just going to put the brakes on a little bit, because he is 15 years old. And it really hit me when he was substituted in the second half. He was replaced by Bukayo Saka, who to me is a player who's young and about to hit his prime years. Bukayo Saka is 9 years older than Max Dauman. 9 years. That's how young Max Dauman is. And so we've just got to be careful. And I wouldn't mind at all if he doesn't feature, you know, for Arsenal for a little bit. You know, they're going to be very aware of what that might have taken out on him.
Yeah.
Hopefully last night, and I really hope that he's managed well. I mean, look at Waneri. He's a couple of years on now from his debut when he played against Brentford, and he's featured here and there and had some runs and come in and out of the team, and was one of our better players yesterday. So there's absolutely no rush to throw Max Dowman in at all. Let him evolve. That was a wonderful performance last night from a player, so young, but he's got time on his side, and I can't wait.
And I do think that thing of the way we bring youth through, not just Arsenal, but all clubs now, we are so much more conscious of the burnout that, say, Jack Wilshere suffered, of overplay. Or if they're good enough, they're old enough. Well, quite a simplistic way of looking at it. You have to treat everyone by their own. Wayne Rooney was a freak because he was this physical specimen that could play physically at that level and just ploughed through adults when he was 16.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think we are now much more aware and conscious of burnout and the way to bring players through.
And that's different to a few years ago. I remember, again, it might have been Brentford in the League Cup, but Charles Sago Jr., who is still in our academy, he started in a game like that, and it never seemed to sort of go anywhere. He featured in an under-21s game at Exeter earlier in the week, which Exeter ended up winning 4-3. It's in the FA Trophy. You know how top clubs can put academy teams in? Yeah, it was one of those. And I just think that maybe what we've sorted out now is that pathway, that actually Arteta's using those youth players more in training as a way to better prepare them for the rigours of when they come in. Now, into the first team. Obviously, nothing can really, but training cannot really create what it was like to play in a stadium full of 60,000 people in a competitive match, in a knockout game, but at the same time, being in training sessions with the likes of Gabriel, Saliba, Gyökeres, Saka, that's going to do so much more for you. And whether Arteta was doing that earlier on in his Arsenal career, I don't know, but it does seem like that pathway is there, which was why it was quite surprising and quite good to see that Andre Harriman Anus. I keep working on that as well. Well, someone asked me his first name as well, and I couldn't remember, so I kept saying Harriman Anus, but yeah, Andre is his first name. And he came in. Now, he's got a couple of years on Max Dowman, but he's still incredibly young for a striker. And again, he did okay. He's quite tall, bit gangly, and I think grew into the game. But eventually, especially because of his involvement in the second goal, where basically he did everything and Saka was able to get the rebound, just showed that he, got the feel of the game and stepped up. So it was all really positive.
And I'll just round this off by just saying the one thing they all have in common, and going back to previous academy graduates like MLS and Waneri, is the mentality. All of them have this mentality. It was mentioned about Andre Harriman Anus as well, that very grounded, very well disciplined in every, and that's basically the Arteta model, isn't it? And Per as well, Mertesacker will be well aware of that these boys can come through, and if they've got the right mentality, above all, you can do keepy uppies and you can be talented technically, till the cows come home. But if you can't bring that mentality onto the pitch, then you're not the right fit. So good. And into the second half, must have been a bit of a team talk, because I thought the cohesion worked from the off. They seemed to be a lot more it was almost like they were unburdened as well. I thought MLS and Waneri found space more, found connection more, and just generally had a kind of virtuous circle effect on the rest of the team. Did that come across?
So again, view from the stand, I still had my same view, same ticket and seat, that Waneri and Marino's presence were felt a lot more. There was a bit of firefighting going on, and Brighton were able to kind of pass through or pass over our midfield and kind of bypass it a little bit. Whereas in the second half, Waneri, his volume of touches increased massively. Sometimes perhaps held on to the ball a bit too long, but, he's a 17-year-old kid who's got an eye for goal, so he's going to do that. And Marino was certainly orchestrating things a little bit more. His presence was certainly felt to a greater extent, which was good to see. Yeah, it was, yeah, like you say, much more cohesive. That's the good word.
Yeah. And we didn't have to wait that long, 57 minutes. Lovely passage of play, I think, from Eze to Marino with a lovely little sort of drag
back heel. Oh, so good. So good.
You read that pass beautifully. It was so well weighted. And then a lovely finish as well, I thought, from one area, to find the corner. Was that down your end? That was the other end?
It was down our end, yeah. All the goals down our end. It was great. In more than one outlet, I've read the word Wenger-esque in terms of that one-touch pass move. It had that vibe about it as well.
Although, play!
As we said in the group, there were a few messages in the WhatsApp that I was able to see that these goals obviously didn't count. It was still 0-0 because they were from open play. I mean, what were we doing?
Yeah, and also, I think it's worth mentioning that Mikel had faith in them to let them play until the 70th minute with that setup. I think it was around the 70 mark before the subs started happening. Yeah. So I was glad that they got the lead with that team on the pitch rather than it needing changes to sort of augment the team to then say, oh, we need to bring in the big boys in order to, win this game. Well, it was kind of won before Saka came on. He just put the seal on it. So that for me was particularly pleasing. And then, like I said, the subs bench was replete with talent, and Brighton must have been thinking, oh God, once we started rolling off the subs. And Saka's goal, again, unlucky for Harry Mananoose not to have got the goal, but he was in the right place, got a good shot off. And then Saka's there for the follow-up.
I don't know if it'll officially count, but I'm seeing that as a Harry Mananoose assist. I'm going to give him that one. It's gone to the panel.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. So anything else on the game? Because, I mean, it kind of, from that point on, it was kind of done as a contest.
Yeah, it was. No, not particularly. Like you say, with the subs bench being so well stacked, it did make for kind of box office viewing, because where we are on the North Bank in that corner, that's basically where the subs come and warm up. And you're just looking and going, okay, right, Gabriel, okay, Rice, Zubamendi, Saka, Trossard, Calafiori. Calafiori was doing a hell of a warm-up even after we'd made all the subs. So I reckon there's some fitness things, whether they were treating that almost as a bit of a workout for him, was interesting to see. But it was, as the month of October proved, all very calm and professional and just really successful.
Also, something we were talking about before we started recording, which really interests me, is that we know that those of us who have season tickets, we're very lucky that we get to go to most games, most home games, but we don't get the entitlement for the League Cup games. You just have to buy it.
Yeah, so we're given a window. So we had a long weekend a few weeks back where we could basically purchase our ticket, which is what I did, and I saw a few familiar faces, but really not many. The crowd was majority people who could just get their hands on a League Cup ticket.
And the difference in having a crowd that isn't usually there, you mentioned, was slightly different, in terms of the songs they were singing. What was it?
So what I was saying to you was that obviously, Arsenal have fairly set songs in their repertoire, the fans do, that they sing, but it was interesting. So all season in the league games in particular, I haven't I struggle with midweek most of the time, so I haven't done the Champions League games, but certainly in the Premier League, I don't think I've heard the "What do you think of Tottenham?" chant at all. But last night, like every 5 minutes, it was popping off somewhere, a concourse before the game and then around it as well. And like you say, just as a marker for the difference in the crowd, that was certainly noticeable. And because of the starting lineup, there was a lot of players in there that don't have songs. So if an action takes place in the game, that doesn't then spark off that player's chant. So when the subs started warming up, we bought him half price. Declan Rice, we got him half price. And when Gabby wants out, you'll fall in love, and so that all started. So the players being on the pitch, kind of, we haven't got a Mosquera chant, we haven't got a Norgard chant, so that would put pay to that as well. But like you say, it's just a different atmosphere for those people who don't normally get the opportunity to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Palace in the quarterfinals could have been a slightly gentler draw. Home, I suppose we shouldn't be too dismissive of. Cardiff have got Chelsea, Man City, Brentford, Newcastle, Fulham. It kind of looks like the favourites. Ours is the toughest of those draws, I would say.
Yes, except there's negotiations going on about exactly when Crystal Palace can play that game, because they are scheduled for, I think, the 15th and the 16th of December, so the midweek of that week. However, Crystal Palace have a Europa League game on the Thursday, because the Europa League schedule and the Champions League schedule don't match up all the time. Sometimes the Champions League starts, I think, a week earlier, so it can have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And whatever happens, that European game won't move. Whatever happens. So there's a decision to be made about whether Palace are made to play on the Tuesday and also the Thursday. Exactly. That's awful for them. But the alternative date, which again, I will come down to things like policing and stewarding, is Christmas Eve.
Wow.
So Christmas Eve at the Emirates could be a potential League Cup quarter-final with Crystal Palace. But what it means either way is Crystal Palace are going to play something like, is it 6 games in 8 days or some? It's honestly
ludicrous.
Just ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, these competitions are where they are. That I don't feel like there's a huge amount that can be done.
Does that make our Christmas schedule more congested then? Because presumably we're going to be playing on the 26th, 27th, thereabouts.
Well, we're going to have a midweek weekend run, pretty much throughout Christmas. So it won't stockpile it to the same density as Crystal Palace is. Yeah. But we will have an amount of games. What it will probably mean, if we end up getting put on the Christmas Eve, because there shouldn't be any Boxing Day games this year, because basically Christmas Day is a Thursday, Boxing Day is a Friday, and the talk is, again, rumours about the scheduling, is that they're all just going to be put on the Saturday, and we'll just have like a weekend full of football. What it will mean is the Arsenal game moves a bit later. It'll be the Sunday, could potentially be the Monday. So, yeah, won't affect us more than it will, but Christmas is always a busy schedule.
Yeah, and I've given up trying to anticipate when games are happening, because they change them so frequently. I've just given up trying to plan things. As
someone who lives far enough away to consider it basically an away game, because I have to get a coach and stuff, and I'm a member of a supporters club. I'm on the committee of that supporters club, and we have to book coaches, we have to book minibuses, we have to sort out, all of those things that we simply cannot make a decision about until TV decides. And we're what are we, 2 days away from November, so we're not getting a huge lead in to make some of these calls and these decisions. And if that game gets put on Christmas Eve, we'll be lucky to get a carload go, I would have thought, to be honest. But we'll see. I'll be there. Not sure I've actually told my wife that yet, in case she's watching. Hey. She's not watching.
Nah. And finally, to round off October, we've got a rather nice little stat, haven't we?
Oh, do you want me to say it, or do you want the pleasure?
No, you go for it, mate.
After yesterday's 2-0 victory against Brighton in the League Cup, that meant Arsenal became the first English top-flight team in history to win 6 games in a single month without conceding a single goal. 6 games, 6 wins, 12 goals scored, 0 conceded. No other team has ever done that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just going to leave a few seconds of silence to absorb that, because Yeah, that's
Yeah, good.
beautiful.
Okay, great.
That was very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, this team are doing things. It's special.
It really is. And it reminds me a little story that often comes to mind is when we were in the Invincible season. I was in the West Upper at Highbury, and in front of us sat a couple of boys who looked like the Mitchell brothers, you know, the EastEnders gangsters kind of thing. And they were they would turn around to everyone, come on, sing up, come on, everyone. And it was full of the prawn sandwich brigade in the West Upper, as it was then, you know. So people were a bit more reserved, but eventually got going. And we were watching games with Henri and Bergkamp, and, you know, they'd make a mistake and the crowd would be, we haven't, it's 20 minutes and we haven't scored yet. Oh, it was all that kind of, we'd just gotten used to how good we were. And after game of this, the Mitchell brothers in front turned around and went, what is wrong with you lot? You're never going to see anything like this again. And it sort of stayed with me, that, because it was a sort of, at the time, I just kind of thought, oh, yeah, shut up. You know, we'll just watch the game and, you know, I'm paying for this and they should be performing better, or whatever entitled kind of response. But it really stayed with me. I think that I can apply that now, is that we are doing so well. Yes, the trophies haven't come yet, but we really do have to stand back sometimes and admire what is going on. And as we mentioned before, with the youth throughout, you know, we are supporting a very well-run club who are doing great work.
So we go back to that debate we've had probably the last 2 or 3 years about the journey versus the destination.
Yeah.
The two aren't mutually exclusive. We all want to reach that destination, but boy, are we enjoying the journey. Exactly.
Good. Okay. I suppose we better turn our sights to Burnley, because it's a big game, you know, 10 points gap over Liverpool if we win this. Yes. Before they play in the evening, which you would not have, they'd have locked you up if you'd said that a few weeks ago. You're going.
I am going
to Turf Moor.
Nice early start on Saturday for a 3:00 kickoff.
Yes. What are you thinking? Just to kind of, you know, what's the vibe? What are you feeling?
You have to be confident. Not only have we got a pretty good record against newly promoted sides, just the aura we now have about, like you said, there will be fans who those Mitchell brothers were getting really annoyed about. When we concede a shot on target, people will be going, blow, God's sake. How rubbish are we? But if that's the levels we've reached, it's slightly unbelievable. And like you said, I think there's just an attitude to this team that is going into every game as if to say, you know, we're going to make this as tough as possible, and we're going to strangle this game, and we're going to impose our will upon this game as well. And I don't really see anything different. Now, that's not to say that Burnley won't be stubborn. You know, famously they held on Liverpool until injury time, and this was Liverpool who were doing okay at the start of the season, a bit harem-scarum here and there, but had to rely on a daft handball giveaway that Salah scored the penalty from. So, you know, no one's also taking anything for granted, but just got to be so buoyant going into it. On that, Holly has messaged in his thoughts and would like to share them on this. So he said, Burnley won 3-2 at Wolves last weekend, beat Leeds 2-0 in their last home game, so are on a decent run. They only lost 1-0 at home to a 95th minute Salah penalty against Liverpool, she said, which in hindsight is a poor result for Burnley. Ha ha ha. In the absence of any real injury updates for Saliba and Martinelli, and then he's got his predicted lineup, but he says Burnley will be very tight. Think they only conceded 16 goals in their promotion campaign last season, which I think might have been a record for the Championship, and is unreal. But that's like the Chelsea Mourinho levels of stingy with their defence. So it's important we have players to unlock, produce a moment of magic like Eze and Palace. Well, just on that as well, I suppose the fact that Martinelli is probably ruled out as well means that whatever attack starts kind of needs to get the job done. A bit like you were saying with the young team last night. Against Brighton, the fact that they could get that lead was really good for them. Well, tomorrow, if whoever starts doesn't get the lead, there might be a fairly limited set of options on the bench to make those changes. You assume, it could be like someone like Waneri or Marino on the bench that can certainly do something. But we'll have to see. Holly also says our next 2 games are Burnley and Sunderland. If we can manage 6 points there, then we are guaranteed to have increased our lead over at least one of City and Liverpool as they play each other next weekend. And actually, Liverpool and City this weekend haven't got easy fixtures. Liverpool have got Villa, who have improved in the league, and Man City have got Bournemouth, and Bournemouth are right up there. Bournemouth have got a pretty terrible record against City. I think it's at the Etihad, it has to be said, and they're still favourites, but if anyone's going to do something, Semenyo's the second top scorer in the league by quite a way, it should be said, against Haaland. So, good luck Bournemouth, I say.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, just going back to Burnley, the fact that we're playing them away, and obviously they're the home team, do you think there's the onus on them slightly more to be slightly more expansive? I know that they are essentially a defender. You think they're just going to play as if they were at the Emirates? Oh my God,
yeah, absolutely. Low block, try and do something on the counter, win fouls high up so they can play set pieces. Why not? Even Burnley fans wouldn't be as expectant to not think that that's what they're going to do, basically. I mean, Parker tried expansive football with lesser, I hate using that term, but teams that were lesser favourites, and he got was it his Bournemouth team got spanked 9-0 against Liverpool. He's got to learn from that, and Burnley are so organised when they want to be, and have a couple of players. I think it's Lyle Foster has been amongst the goals. Jadon Anthony, who was at West Ham and Bournemouth previously, they're all right. They're good operators, so they've. Yeah, but expansive football, no, don't see it.
Oh, no, I don't think expansive. But it's interesting you say about the fans, because that would be, the expectation, say, for us, for example, after 20 minutes, we get itchy and the crowd start to come on Arsenal's. They won't get that because, like you said, the Burnley will be happy to be 0-0 at half-time, 60 minutes. Yeah. They'll just be delighted as a fan base. So.
And they'll know that... as Holly referenced, winning 3-2 at Wolves and then beating Leeds 2-0, it's beating those teams that are that part of the table that are going to be so important. Anything they get off Arsenal, if they were to, would be a complete bonus. So the fact that they've gone out and scored 5 goals in those games shows that, they're going to mix up their tactics.
Yeah. Do you want to give us Holly's team selection?
His team is almost exactly as you'd expect. Raya, Timber, Mosquera he's gone with instead of Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. Midfield 3, Zubamendi, Rice, Eze. And then front 3, Saka, Gyökeres, Trossard. Yeah. And my team is exactly the same.
So is mine.
Well, right, okay, fine. I mean, if there's any risk with Saliba, don't take it. Yeah. Mosquera is more than capable. He's been excellent when he's featured. Yeah,
no, I've gone exactly the same. For that reason, I just don't think it's worth risking him. No. I don't even know what's the problem is with him. Was it an impact injury or a strain?
Yeah, he came off half time. Was it the West Ham game? Can't remember now. Recent home game. It's gone from
that was a way back. You mean Fulham away, or no, the 1-0 home against Palace?
Palace, that was it. Palace, sorry, Palace. Yeah, I don't know. I should have probably looked that up before we came on, but there's no talk of it being long term. That's more of a noise that's coming out about Martinelli, that could be for a little while, which would be a real shame.
Real shame, as he just got a head of steam.
Yeah, a little bit.
Scores?
Holly has gone 3-1. And I have to say, in our little, because we keep a record of these, at which you're head and shoulders above me and Holly for predicting the scores. He said 3-1 for the last 3 games. And I feel like he's only saying the one out of superstition. I could be wrong. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Holly, while you're not here, but I do wonder. I've gone 2-0.
Okay.
Yeah. I have said that we'd concede for the last couple of games, but 2-0.
Okay. I've gone 3-0.
Woohoo! There you go, splitting the difference.
I just feel that we've had a few we've had a couple of 1-0ers in the league where tough opposition, and I'm not discounting Burnley at all, but I just feel like it's due. I just feel like that there's an opportunity here to get an early goal and really dominate. I think we beat them 5-0.
I was just going to say it was
last season. It was last year, end of season 23-24, right?
Yeah.
Where we did them 5-0 and then they went down, obviously. So yeah, I'm going to go 3-0.
Yeah, I was at that 5-0 game, and the thing I take away from that is there was a slight narrative building up about Saka and him being a little bit predictable in the way he took things on, doing that classic, cut in and then curl one with his left. Well, he took a player down the other side and then lashed a goal in with his right foot at the near post that the keeper didn't even have time to react to. And I just thought, yes, now everyone will be guessing. And it was because he can go both ways. He's just brilliant.
Yeah. If you listen to the last pod, people, we were talking about lefties being pretty good on their right. So, yeah, case in point. Good stuff. Any other news to impart?
So on the social media profiles that we have, I put out a couple of questions. I asked, what was the nicest thing about last night against Brighton? I also asked, what have we got to be nervous about against Burnley? And also I asked people how they were coping with this good run of form, because I know what us Arsenal fans are like. Well, pal of mine, George, friend of the show, he actually was my lift yesterday as we met the bus and went to the game. He said the nicest thing about yesterday was the bench because it was so well stacked. He said what makes him nervous about Burnley is just making sure everyone comes home as fit as they left. And how he's coping with our current run of good form is he's enjoying it until the weekly heart attack will resume at some point. He's pretty sure. So that's probably echoed by a lot of other people. Our friend Tabs at the Grove podcast has also said, he actually referenced, I met Tabs for a quick chat before the game outside Block 5. And we were just sort of chatting about the bigger picture and the season, a bit of a kind of journey versus destination discussion. And I caught him because he'd been speaking for about 2 minutes and basically getting me ready for battle on what we were going to do this season, because he was speaking so effusively and so enthusiastically about this team that I was ready to go to war. And it reminded me of the Stuart MacFarlane speech, the photographer in the All or Nothing documentary.
I love you. I love this club.
I love this club. So I just want to reference that Tabs is obviously getting very excited and liking what he sees. But he is nervous. He says on here, his messages saying he is nervous that the bubble will burst, the serenity will be destroyed, and something stupid will happen eventually. Just hope we can ride that out whenever it happens. So that bravado, chest-beating speech is underlined by hidden anxiety.
I think it's like you said earlier about people who lose their collective shit when we concede a shot on target. You know? When we concede a goal, everything's going to go to meltdown.
Well, on that, so on BlueSky, someone who goes by the handle Arse Vengers, who's messaged in quite a lot in the past, so hello Arse Vengers, who I love because they've got a picture of an otter in an Arsenal fan smoking a cigar,
nice.
Which I quite like. Their favourite thing about yesterday was the Wenger-esque cup tie. So liked some of the play and the goals, I guess, for the build-up, and just playing some youngsters. Nervous about Burnley, but more concerned about the injuries. So a bit like my friend George said. And then, as you said, the way to cope with the form is just the fact that we will shit ourselves when we concede again. How will we react? It was that thing. What was so good about the 22-23 season, we conceded a goal against Leicester at home, and rather than all mope and moan, everyone got back up really quickly. And I'd never heard anything like it at the Emirates. Like, we were on it, supporting the team, and just, that setback just washed over us, and we were just like, oh, come on, we know this team can do something. So more of that, please. Don't worry. Just because we haven't conceded a goal, hopefully we haven't forgotten how to cope with it.
No. Well, what I'd say is we've set the bar pretty high, and
oh my God,
like we said in the last pod, these things that have been these building blocks that have been put in place aren't going away quickly. You know, there will be little setbacks, but we've got such a good bedrock. You know, the defensive platform we have throughout the team, not just the back four. It's here to stay. I really do believe that. It's not just going to evaporate. And we will concede goals, and we will concede, goals, shots on target. But ultimately, we're on the right track. So, yeah, please don't panic. I've got a lovely little stat to finish with.
Let's go for it.
Unless you've got anything else. But
No. That's me done.
Okay. We've covered more kilometres than any other team in the Premier League this season. Clocking up. Do you want to have a guess? In kilometres?
Right, so are you talking on average per game or total kilometres of all players?
Total kilometres, yeah.
I mean, I've got no idea. This feels like something on Richard Osman's House of Games or something like that, some kind of or Only Connect. Right, okay, so most teams, some players will run 10K a game, won't they? And there's 11 players, and so
10 outfield.
10 outfield, yes, good. Although Raya does, come out and play quite high. But anyway, and we've played 9 games. Are we talking just in the Premier League?
Yeah.
Oh God. So that is, have we, right. I'm going to say this is mad. Have we run something like 9,000 kilometres?
Oh, I thought you were on the right track there in your maths.
Oh, I'm an English teacher, so I've got no idea.
You said about 10 kilometres a game per outfield player. 10 times 10 is...
Well, 100.
Times the number of games.
Times 9. What,
Roughly.
900,000?
900 kilometres.
Oh.
It's actually 1,033 kilometres. Okay?
Look, you're exposing me here. I am an English teacher.
You're an English teacher. It's fine. It's okay. Some basic maths coming in the next.
It's half term as well because I'm not sharp at all. Right. Okay.
And I even just for a sort of perspective, I thought, well, how long is 1,033 kilometres? And apparently, it gets you from here to Bordeaux in France by car. So,
wow.
There you go. Just to leave you with that.
So hang on. Well, just for context, have you got a stat for like the team that's nearest?
Man City.
And how many have they run?
Behind us by about 50 kilometres, not by much.
Oh, okay. But still, look, it buys into what you've been saying about ethos. That work ethic, like running off the ball, closing people down, making runs when someone else is in possession and trying to draw people away. We've banged on about Gyökeres doing a huge amount of that. So yeah, it passes the eye test massively, and long may it continue because that's what's going to do things this season.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's another feel-good fact there, boys and girls, just to round off the pod. So we'll be back after the Burnley game and before Sparta Prague on Tuesday to have a little look at that. They're all coming thick and fast.
And help the algorithm out. If you are someone who listens to the whole thing and you're still here, we just really appreciate a comment. Just even if it's something, just let us know where you're listening from or something along those lines. Comment on the YouTube or on Spotify because that just helps, boost the algorithm and all that kind of thing.
And reach out on the socials as well, like we said at the beginning, because we just want to generate a bit more of a community thing. Right, nice one. Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you for the next one.
Cheers. See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.